Hello there, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. It's been a while since I have been on to do one of these. Things have been really kind of crazy the last month and a half or so. But that's the topic of another long story. I wanted to get together today and talk to you a little bit about an organic approach to astrology and how astrology really comes to life when you begin to think of it as being living. I'm going to wait for a few more people to join us before I start going into things, so I just don't have to repeat things a couple of times. If people want to let me know how the audio and video is in the meantime, that would be very helpful. I would be glad to know that. And then we'll get talking on things. And first of all, how's everybody doing? I'm seeing a couple of people here saying hello while we're waiting for everybody. This is a good time for all of our hellos and how are you doings and things like that. Okay. So let's just let people get in here a little bit before I start, rambling on endlessly about what I am here to talk about today, which is an organic approach to astrology, which is how astrology is really meant to be understood, right? Let's see, we're getting a few more people here now. Hope everybody doesn't mind waiting. In the meantime, you can watch me having my drink. I know that's just really exciting. Where else can you go on YouTube and get to watch somebody having a drink, right? Oh my God, the excitement is too overwhelming. It's just building and building and building. Okay, we've got enough people here now. We can talk about it a little bit. So hello to everybody. I'm here to talk to you today about astrology and approaching astrology organically. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, let's talk about a couple of key portions of Brihat Parashara Horashastra that really talks about astrology in this particular manner. There is a verse early on in Brihat Parashara Horashastra. I'm not going to quote the exact thing because I'm not really here to impress you with my memory of what exact verse it is or anything like that. I'm just more here to convey the concept. But there is a verse that basically puts forward the concept that the planets are living incarnations of Vishnu. So they're conscious incarnations of Vishnu. They're actual consciousnesses. Consciousnesses, that's a very difficult word. But they are conscious entities. They all have personalities like the sun. The sun is known to sacrifice for the sake of his kingdom. The moon can be very receptive, is creeping in nature. What does that mean, right? It means that it will adapt on many levels to fulfill its needs. Mars, who always likes to solve a problem, right? All the planets have different personalities. They are conscious living entities. Then when we understand the Rashis are the unconscious limbs of Vishnu. So without something in them, they are just, like a tree branch. Imagine this is a tree branch. They would just be, like a dead limb. So it doesn't mean that you have dead Rashis in your chart or anything like that, because you have planets influencing it. A planet influencing it will give it consciousness too. But the Rashis are just unconscious limbs of Vishnu. They are fields that basically condition a planet in a certain way to affect an area of your life, which is a bhava, a house, or a house cusp, right? So that's the other side of it. Now, let's talk about nakshatras for a moment. There's nothing really written in terms of nakshatras in this particular manner, but you can think of the nakshatras as the powers of the conscious being, right? So you have the planets, which are the consciousnesses of the conscious being of astrology, right? And then you have the Rashis, which are the limbs. Well, the nakshatras are the powers, because the nakshatras grow our consciousness in a certain way in association with whatever is placed in them, whether it be a planet or a house cusp. If you work with house cusps, that's what the nakshatras do. So if you learn astrology in this particular manner, what you will in fact do is find a way where astrology comes to life for you, and it's not quite as puzzling, and it becomes less of a thing of memorizing all these specific things. Sure, you have to memorize certain qualities of the planets and things like that. But when you begin to think of them as living entities, it all begins to make a lot more sense. And then you can go, oh, well, the sun, just like you would think of your friend, is doing this because it's in this particular area or Rashi, right? So if it's in that particular Rashi, say it's in your arm, the sun is in my arm, so it's going to do these things, right? Or the sun is in my legs, so it's going to do these things. Or the sun is on my head. Whew, that's a lot of weight to carry. It's going to do these things, right? So the more you understand astrology as a living entity, the more it begins to make sense to you, and it's not quite as complex, which is what's really wonderful about Vedic astrology, because you have a planet can be in a friend sign or a great friend sign, all of those particular concepts. And that makes a lot of sense too. So for instance, if you're in the sign, if you're in the house of an enemy, so to speak, you're not going to feel that comfortable, are you? You're likely going to feel like you're imprisoned by something. Or if you're in a house of a friend, you're going to feel, kind of at peace about things. If you're in the house of a great friend, you're going to feel even happier about that. So astrology, really, when you learn it as a manner of it being alive, it begins to make so much more concrete sense, which is why I think Parashara wanted to convey it that way. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about in association with this is I am starting 2 courses in March of next year. One is a foundational level course on Vedic astrology, where we will learn astrology in this particular manner. Right? While I'm in the background, I didn't bring up the page. Why don't I bring up the page of my course so I can tell you some of the things we're going to learn on it, right? I didn't think to do that. But basically, we're going to learn astrology from the ground up with all the different concepts of astrology in a manner that's organic, so we have a deeper understanding of what actually is going on in association with each of the different factors of astrology. Some of the topics we're going to cover, obviously, would be covered in any basic course, would be getting to know the planets as conscious entities with unique personalities, understanding the planets as producers and causers of certain things, understanding the Rashis as unconscious limbs of Vishnu. They need conscious in or aspecting them to bear their fruits. The more finite focus of the Rashis through equal house system and house cusps, the Nakshatras as the growers of consciousness or the powers of the cosmic being, dignity and deep tadi avastas. Deep tadi avastas is a way of understanding temporal dignity of a planet. The Baladi avastas, the Jagradati avastas, Vimshotri dasha and the dasha levels, what's happening and how it happens, aspects, both Rashi aspects and planetary aspects, a simple understanding of the Vargas. All of these things are going to be things that we're going to learn on the foundational level course. I am also going to be teaching a course on the Nakshatras again. Now, if you remember in 2016, I taught a course on the Nakshatras. And this has some added information on the Nakshatras that wasn't available on the first course. So it's going to be much more meaningful. Before I go further into it, somebody's saying they can't hear a word. Can somebody else tell me if they're having problems before I start talking more? Okay, I'm going to wait for somebody else to say they either can hear me or cannot hear me. So somebody please type in the chat window. Okay, so somebody please type into the chat window whether you can hear me or not. Okay, great. Somebody's asking if I use sidereal or tropical zodiac. both of those, all these techniques are going to work with both of those. I don't want to get into all of that. Really, you know, to be quite honest, I probably use nakshatras more than I use anything else. And I like saying that because if you get too focused on which Rashi system or which zodiac one is using, there's no need for debate over it, because unless you know the absolute truth, we don't know which one of those came first or which was meant to be used, and we have no absolute concrete proof one way or the other. So we can spend a month of Sundays arguing about that, or we can just talk about astrology. I'd rather just talk about astrology. Okay? So, you know, because otherwise we just argue over things. Why do we want to do that? Yeah, both systems are valid, both systems are accurate. So I'm not going to get into that debate. So back to what I was talking about with nakshatras. Okay? So basically, I taught a course in 2016 that included a lot of nakshatra techniques. And this is going to include some different ones, right? So some of the things that are going to be on this nakshatra course are obviously what are the nakshatras and how to understand each particular nakshatra. So we'll cover the basics of each nakshatra. We'll learn about 2 different calculations for determining nakshatra positions and the reasons for using each of those. Meaning of the terminology to define nakshatra characteristics. And as I said, an understanding of the nakshatras, in-depth descriptions of each nakshatras with examples on their interpretation. Interpreting the nakshatras through final dispositorship. Something called the base 60 system, which is something I've recently developed for judging planetary and nakshatra strength. In other words, how to determine if a nakshatra is going to bear more of its difficult fruits or more of its positive fruits using a base 60 system. And also another calculation system that I'm working on. And we're also going to learn something called the Shayanadi Avastas, which are basically determined by the birth nakshatra. So they're very nakshatra oriented, because you have to know the moon's nakshatra in order to calculate it for yourself, and you also need the first letter of your name. And it's very specific and helps to further understand how the nakshatras function. Using Tarabala in an interpretative capacity, how to interpret the nakshatras in the Varga charts, interpreting the nakshatras using Shayanadi Avastas, planetary strength and Vimshotri Dasha, and understanding the house cusp through the nakshatras. So, going a little more into depth with this, these courses are starting in March, but, well, let me tell you how much the course costs. Each of these courses is $899, but it's going to run from March 2018 through to February 2019. We're going to take a break between November 18th and somewhere around January 6th or 7th for the holidays, because most people can't make class on holidays. But in total, it's going to be a 44-week course, right? Both of these courses. So it's going to be very extensive. And so the price is to compensate for the length of the course. Each attendee on the course gets a recording of each class, right? And you also get membership to my astrological forum, where you can ask questions for me to get back to you on. So basically, as I said, these courses are $899, but if you register before, I think, one class, it's December 4th, you'll find it on the page links below. I think it's if you register before December 4th with one class, and with the other class, if you register before December 11th, right? So with the foundation level course, if you register before 4th of December of this year, you'll get a 15% discount. And with the Nakshatra course, if you register before the 11th of December, you'll get a 15% discount. So instead of the course being $899 for you, it would be $764 for the entire course. I also have an option to pay by trimester, 3 trimester payments. So if you are not taking advantage of the early registration, That would be $329 per trimester. If you want to take advantage of early registration, you could pay the first trimester fee, which is $279, and you would be enrolled upon the course. And then I think your next fee is due sometime in June of next year. So you'd have a long time in between paying course fees. So in short, if you register before December 4th for my foundation level course, the fee would be $764 if you register for the entire course. And if you wanted to register by trimester, it would be $279 per trimester. And there's links further below on the on this video page where you can visit it. Or if you have trouble finding those, just visit my website, AuthenticAstrology.com, and look under the course heading. So while I'm still here, I've got another few minutes. I can definitely field some questions. If anybody has general questions, not questions about your horoscope, but just general questions, okay? What is the use of ascendant nakshatra and its dispositor? Well, it's a good way of understanding how the individual approaches life, how they think, because the first house is the head, how their health will grow, right? And the dispositor adds some further foundational understanding of what supports that path. Because that's what the dispositor does. It provides support. Like if you lived in your parents' house, right? Your parents are providing support for you living in that house. Okay, so that's how that would work. Okay, so and these are all things that you can learn on both of these courses, by the way. Anybody else with any questions? I'm only going to stay here another few minutes because I have 2 classes today that I have to go prepare for. So I'm only here for a few more minutes. So if you have any general astrology related questions, please feel free to ask. What technique do I use to find spouse's career in astrology? There are a few different things you could do. A really simple one is you could find the 10th from the Darakaraka, right? That's one thing to do. You could also find the 7th house. I'm sorry, not thinking. Hold on a second. You could also look at the 4th house. That's what I meant to say. I had to do the math in my head. I was thinking Bhavat Bhavam and kind of got confused for a second. So you could also look at the 4th house. That would help. You could look at nakshatras connected with that. Those would be some of the things that I would do. But I'd probably go more into depth with that. And an easier thing to do in association with that would be to have one spouse's permission and to do a career analysis rather than to try to rotate the chart and do it that way, right? So that's a simple answer to that. So in short, spouse's career could be the 4th house. You could also look at the 6th because that is the 10th from the 9th, because the 9th house is also committed relationships. So you could look at a combination of all of those factors and put it all together and you'd have a general understanding. Somebody's asking how to use sublord for nakshatras. I don't really work with the KP system. It's not me saying the KP system isn't good. It's just with the techniques that I use, I've never really felt a need to delve into that area. So I wouldn't really, it's not my level of expertise. Okay. Okay, another minute or two, and then I'm going to say goodbye for now. But I just wanted to let everybody know that I have some courses approaching in the spring. You can take advantage of early registration. It'll say early bird discount on my page. I had to explain to somebody what early bird discount meant. It's kind of an American way of expressing if you get to registering earlier, you get a discount. Which is better, Navamsha or Rashi, to read a chart? You look at Varga charts for specific factors in life, right? The Rashi chart is the life path. The Navamsha chart are those things that we find purpose in, right? Now, I know some astrologers just go look at the Rashi and the Navamsha for everything, and you can do that, but if you learn all the Varga charts, it becomes much more meaningful, and you can look at all sorts of different areas, and you just have to know what each Varga chart is for. I'm presently teaching a Varga course, but that's way into the course already. So Samir, you can say that on a certain level, but really there's a different way of looking at it. The D1 is the life path. It helps you to understand things. But let's say you wanted to see if somebody was going to have children. A good thing you would want to do at that point is you'd also want to go look at the Saptamsha, right? And it could be that the Rashi chart is not really indicating children, but the Saptamsha chart does. That doesn't mean the person isn't going to have children. It just means that, you know, maybe they randomly got pregnant and it wasn't a big focus of their life path. They weren't thinking really about having a child. So many different ways to interpret it, and you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. How do you use D10 for career predictions? You need to take a look at the Rashi chart and the D10 side by side in order to accurately predict career, because the Dashamsha is not just for career, it's for the great successes in life. Career can be a great success, but also fulfilling your path of taking care of your parents can be a great success. And so a lot of people misuse the Dashamsha chart. Okay, I'm going to have to go now, but just to remind people once more, if you're interested in those courses, you can find information on how to register further down on this video, or either at authenticastrology.com. Just click on the courses link. I'll see everybody next time. Bye now.